This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Welcome back, everybody, to the Laugh Cry Club. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea, and if you're an imperfect human who laughs and cries, and maybe you even have a friend who laughs and cries or a family member, then this podcast, it's 100% for you, just so you know.
We're so glad you're here. Rebecca, are you drinking Red Bull out of a straw already?
I am. I thought I would be a little bit more elegant this morning because generally...
Instead of the kickback?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I was like...
Okay, we're not doing a straw. You're going to get the lip wrinkles that I have. Don't do that, Rebecca.
Okay.
Keep your beautiful
Just
mouth.
Pound it. Just pound it.
Yeah, just pound it.
Yeah. So that's why I have a straw because I thought... You know, like, nobody needs to see me, like...
You're kind of like the famous people, like, when they're getting ready, you always see them drinking out of straws so they don't ruin their lipstick.
I don't want to ruin my makeup, okay?
Yeah, you didn't want to ruin
my lipstick.
Ruin makeup.
I really need to keep it in place.
I understand that.
Yes.
Well, welcome, everybody, to the Laugh Cry Club. We are 3 licensed therapists with over 20 years of experience each. We have lots of knowledge about mental health. We're here to normalize feelings, talk about our own experiences, and hope that you get something out of this. If you're struggling with really anything in your life, we want to cover every topic. So if you have questions or want to submit a question that you want us to have addressed on the show, you can email us at laughcryclub@gmail.com. And then we are on all the socials at Laugh Cry Club. We pick a topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about the lessons we've learned and our gratitude because it is the month of November.
Yep.
And so we're going to talk all about gratitude this month. And then we also start every episode with our laughs and our cries. Chelsea, who's going first?
Well, I'm going to nominate myself because I want to teach us a new term that's very cool. So,
oh, yay.
Yeah, my laugh was last night. My daughter, she was making her Halloween costume. So she's laying on the floor. Okay, so you have to imagine she's 15 years old. She's probably 5'9". I mean, so cute. And she's laying on her stomach.
She's so cute.
She's so cute. And she has a white t-shirt and she's writing in Sharpie on it, loaded diaper. For her Halloween costume, which is a character from a book called Diary of a Wimpy Kid that my kids were obsessed with when they were little, and Loaded Diaper, I guess, was the band. She's dressing up as Roderick, the brother, which for her means fishnet, tight, short shorts, a leather jacket, my leather boots, and then her homemade shirt.
That's adorable.
It's so cute. But what made me laugh was I was saying, oh, that looks cute. And she's like, yeah, well, I look like chopped cheese today at school.
What? Chopped cheese? Not shredded. Chopped.
Oh my God. Shit like this falls out of her mouth. Chopped cheese was the way that meaning she didn't look good. It was how she described herself. And I'm like, you're so... Oh my God. It makes me laugh so hard. So that was my laugh. I'm just, as a mother, looking at my teenage daughter. She's going through my clothes to find fishnets and boots. And I'm just like, who are you? Like, who are you? How are you so naturally hysterical? And you just, like, without a beat, she talks so much shit, which, I mean, I guess her mother does too. But chopped cheese? I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to say that next time, like, I get ready and I'm like, ew, I look like a chopped cheese.
It reminds me of the episode we had, like one of our first episodes we recorded where my neighbor called his daughter's boyfriend a dirt sandwich.
Yes. That's so funny. So funny. So that was my laugh last night. I just was like, oh my God, she's so funny. And she's so herself. She's just like coloring and singing. And I'm like, are you still a good singer? And she looks at me and she's like, you know I'm good at singing, Mom. Like she's just She's amazing and I'm obsessed with her and it's the best. And then my cry, I'm like, can I cry about something that's not death anymore? I'm so tired of crying about death. So I was out Saturday night and one of Steve's buddies calls me, and this is a laugh cry. And he was crying and he's like, I miss Walshy. I'm so sad. And he's like, how are you doing? And he's like, he loved you so much and he just talked about you and I always wanted a love like that. And I'm just like crying because I'm like, God, will anybody ever see me the way that he saw me? Because it takes so much time, right? Like think about our friendships. Like my newest friends are probably you two. And it's what, 5 years? Like that's not new. And we talk all the time and there's no chit chat. It's like straight for the jugular, guys. Let's like really dig into each other's souls and pull it out.
Straight for the jugular.
Yeah, like get into the throat. What's in there? Let me see what's wrong. So he was saying that and I was thinking about just like the knowing somebody and how long it takes, and I just started, oh my God, I can't do this.
We have the giggles today. we have the church giggles today. Okay, continue.
Okay. And his buddy says to me, he said, so he's talking about the love and I'm thinking about love, blah, blah, blah. And I think his friend's wasted. He's drunk. And then he's like, the best compliment I ever had was from Tommy Lee, because Steve worked for Tommy forever. And he goes, Tommy Lee looked at me and said, hey, you look familiar, like Walshy's little brother, but shorter and not as good looking.
Way to go, Tommy.
Yeah, so
what a backhanded compliment.
So I go from like crying, like, oh, no one's like, will anybody ever know me? Like all the layers of me as a human, to like that funny comment. And I was like crying and laughing and it's just, yeah. Anyways, it was hilarious. And it makes me think about that. Like those long relationships. I mean, some of my girlfriends, my longest girlfriends I've been friends with for 35 years. I mean, they know everything. There's every single, and I'm pretty authentic. So it's like they know my guts. And that's a lovely feeling, I think, when you're romantically involved with somebody, for them to actually know all those pieces. And at this time of my life, that would start, like I would have to start right now and then gain like 30 years and then die before somebody knew me all the way. So it's fine. It's fine. Okay, that's my random laugh and cry. I could go on.
That's so
great. But I'm distracted by you two.
Sorry.
That's true.
I can't believe you were. I mean, I know Steve worked for a lot of people, but I'm like, oh my gosh, when you say like Tommy Lee, I'm like, he worked for freaking Tommy Lee.
Oh yeah, they have matching tattoos.
Oh,
they
do.
had. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow,
that's so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, Steve really loved him. Like that was one of his first in LA, and I think he had like that reality show or some shit. I don't know.
Yep.
Like back in the day, I think Steve they had like a house in some lake where they record. I don't know. Steve lived a lot of life, but I just thought that was a very hilarious. Yeah, he looked like Walshy, but shorter and not as good looking. Like, who says that?
It's like a diss.
Yeah. All right, so lots of laughs, lots of cries. I'm passing it over to the number one distractor right now, which is why I can barely hold my shit together. Rebecca has her miniature creep hand. Oh my God.
Yeah, Rebecca has tiny hands. Rebecca's had these forever. Everyone has seen them on the internet or on social media where they're just like tiny hands and people will hold them up and like, gesture with them and act like nothing is wrong. But also just full disclosure, we had like a 20-minute conversation before this where we just got the giggles. And so we're kind of giggly today. So which is why we're a little bit giggly.
Hyped up. We're hyped up. Yeah. Fun fact. This is a even tinier hand. Like I have miniature hands. But
they're tiny.
That's kind of a floppy creep hand. It looks like an actual hand, but
it does
like
look floppy.
And I know the tiny hands, and that one is something else. And Rebecca keeps
the tiny hands,
flopping it,
right?
Because
it's like a stress toy.
It's a fidget toy. Sometimes I'll be like fidgeting with this hand. Anyway,
giving it a
what
hand
do you
massage.
have, fidgeter? You're laughing, you cry with your tiny hand.
Yeah,
because you've been making me laugh all morning.
That's what I'm here for. Goodness, no cries. I love it. Isn't it nice?
God, yes.
Heck yeah.
Great. I had such a good time over the weekend. I was doing this long walk. We had like a big flood. It wasn't like a big flood. We had like 3 inches of rain very quickly. And then, so I live by this greenway. And so this little stream and pond, flooded or whatever. Walking, find this football. It's a Chiefs football. And I'm like, I mean, surely no kid's missing this. It probably got, washed out of somewhere. So I'm like, I'm going to take this home. I've been needing a football like this. And so I walked like 3 miles with this football because I'm not putting it down and letting some other kid get it. And
wait, are you exaggerating? Did you actually walk 3 miles?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good with your football.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, oh, this is so fun. And it just became this real playful thing where Robin was with me. And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to hike it to you. Like, getting the football stance and doing like 54, 22, 0, hike. And then, like going out for a pass. And I'm like, this is so fun. My laugh, really has to do with, I saw this guy walking. And then I'm like, I'm going to throw this ball to him. He was probably 50, 60 feet away. And I'm like, wait, does he have oxygen on? And Robin's like, okay, yeah, maybe don't throw it to him. Anyway.
What?
Then we were like, as he got closer, because, our vision sucks at this age, midlife, he actually had like headphones attached to his phone.
Thank God.
Right? Like from afar, it would look like maybe I have oxygen on. Like this.
I mean, I'm having the visual of this and I'm just thinking, like, as a woman who's now like single at age 47, this is the shit we have to deal with. Is it oxygen or is it headphones? This is what we're talking about, guys.
So he gets closer and I'm making eye contact with him and I'm like, are you ready? And he like takes his earbuds out and he's like, yeah. So I like haul back. I throw this football to him. I'm obviously not the best football thrower, right? Plus, you have to really you have to put some like oomph in it to really get a good spiral. I didn't want to like bowl him over, like knock him out.
You don't want to knock him over with your strength.
Yeah, especially since we had some confusion if there was oxygen. That might have like created a little pause in your brain. Your brain was like, is it actually safe?
I actually did stop and think instead of being extremely impulsive.
Yeah,
so that's
you
a good
did.
thing.
Good
I'm
job.
learning.
You must not have been drinking that Red Bull in the straw.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was water.
But
yeah, so I throw it to him. He catches it. And then he throws it back to me. And I'm like, it was like the best moment ever. It was so fun. And he was smiling and kind of laughing. I was laughing and smiling. It was just like so cool. I loved it. It was so fun.
That's a fun rando connection.
Total rando. I've never seen him before. I'll probably never see him again. But then I was just thinking about it. Like, he's walking away from this moment, probably having all kinds of thoughts and feelings, hopefully joyful. He seemed joyful. And like just to fill the rest of his day. And he's probably going to go home and tell whoever's at home, like, this crazy thing happened. This girl threw this football to me on the trail. It was just this rando interaction.
Think about over the year of how many randos we've encountered and how much we've impacted so many lives, our lives, because we started talking about rando connections.
The rando connections.
It's
a real thing.
It is. And you know what I really like about this rando connection is no words. I really like that because maybe we all need to just shut the fuck up because the like divisive insanity of all this shit. And maybe we just need to shut up and play football.
I mean,
what would happen if we just shut up?
If we just shut the fuck up and started playing football.
Just shut the fuck up and play.
Oh
it
my
doesn't have to be
God.
football. Just play. Like
Anything.
be playful.
It could be basketball. It could be tag. It could be chase. You're it. Like, what if we just went back to like little kids at a playground? They're not walking up and being like, hey, how are you? What do you believe in? They're like, want to play? Yeah. Tag, little fucker. You're it. And that's how it starts.
Or they just throw the ball at somebody and either you catch it or you don't.
That's right. Or you stand in front of a swing and look at a kid till you want him to get off of it. There's not a lot of exchange with little toddlers because they don't have the words yet. It's not until they get the words and then get their parents' bad personalities that they start like talking all this shit on the playground. But the littler kids are just like looking over like, can I just connect with this other kid and how do I do it? And it is playful. And I actually feel feel like we could take a page out of Rebecca's book and maybe,
Mm-hmm.
just dance with a rando, throw a football with a rando, do a rando wink. Ooh, I love that one.
I love a rando wink.
Me
I'm
too.
such a
I
winker.
love it. Oh, it's so fun.
I'm such a winker.
did a rando wink, it'd be really weird because I can't wink. It's like I have to
Really?
use my whole side of my face. And people would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, mine looks like I got my eye stuck. I do this. It's very slow.
See, mine's quick. Mine's like,
Well, it's
Okay, see
supposed
it.
to be quick. Let me see it.
yeah.
Go. Ooh. Ooh, and
it's
she
like
did a
a-
little. Oh, I liked it. Joy, actually, if you did that wink to me, I would be like, wow.
It's a little
I'm
flirty.
into it.
Yeah.
I really like it.
I'd be like, oh,
yeah, maybe I should do that instead of the frozen face.
Yeah.
Like my eyeball got stuck. Like, am I a pirate? Yeah.
I love it.
Me
Cool.
too. Oh, that was good, Rebecca. Thanks.
Thanks.
Good randos.
Joy, you're up.
Woohoo! All right. My laugh is I was thinking about how I'm such a rule follower. And we always talk about me being like, oh, I don't like to break the rules. But in reality, there's times in my life, and I found one this week where I'm like, I'm kind of a rule breaker, not in a big way, but enough in a way where I'm like, that was kind of an asshole move. So I was at Costco this weekend, and I don't know if you guys have like, I don't know, whatever store that you're at, but Costco has, no matter what time of day I go, like a huge traffic jam at the checkout. And they don't have it set up to where there can be really lines. So the lines kind of like start to snake around. And then they have, stacks and stacks of product to where you have to kind of like go around the products to stand in another line. So I don't like lines, and I especially don't like really long lines. Okay, here's the other thing. Okay, so let me back up. Like at the beginning, I get there and it hadn't opened. It was like maybe 2 minutes before it was opening. And everyone lines up with their cart, like in a line. I don't. I sat on a step next to the door without a cart because I'm like, I'll just get a cart when I walk in the door. I just cut in line because I'm like, the rule isn't that we have to sit in this line. And so I just like walked in and got my cart, and I didn't follow the big so that was like my one thing where I was like, that was kind of an asshole move. So I'm like laughing at myself because I'm like, this is probably the most rule breaky that I get. But I did the same thing when I checked out where I was like, I'm not standing in these stupid ass lines. And there was someone that like opened a station where they're like, anyone can come in. And I just like cut everybody. There were people that were probably waiting in line for 45 minutes. I'm not even kidding. And I just had my cart and they were right there. And I was like, beep, beep, beep. And I asked one guy behind me, I said, do you want to go? And he's like, no, it's totally fine. I just cut all these people and I felt kind of bad about it. But I was also like, I'm just smarter.
I like this.
Survival of the fittest.
I mean,
That is true.
I-
And she was probably the fittest at
Oh
Costco.
my gosh. She was
honestly.
probably crushing it in all the areas.
And
yeah.
They were
And
afraid.
I didn't have Leela with me. Normally I bring Leela like as a training. And so people typically will let me go ahead of them just because they're like, oh, you have a dog that you're training, like go ahead. No, I didn't even have that to fall back on. I just going in, I cut a bunch of people. Leaving, I cut a bunch of people. Like, I'm not talking about 1 or 2 people. This line was halfway back to the store. It was so long.
Okay, I have
And
a question for you. When you cut, did you like I would have been like, thanks, and I would have done something like that, or I would have been like just hyper focused to like not to avert any eye contact. Which
Yeah,
were
I
you
did
like
the latter.
friendly? Okay, you were like, I'm a woman and I'm gonna
yeah, I
get
was
to
like,
my
you
point A to
guys
point B."
don't understand and I kind of get this from my husband because he is the efficiency expert. So anything that could be done better and faster and quicker, he will figure out a way to do it. So I just like let that kick in where I'm like, well, this aisle just happened to be here. I just happen to be standing here where they opened a station and I'm going to go in because all these other motherfuckers around me are just kind of looking around like, is that person go? And I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
I'm just going to go. So I just got in line. I asked the person right behind me because he was like, right there. I'm like, do you want to go ahead of me? And he was like, no. He was like super friendly. And so that was just like, I just kind of ignored everyone else. And it was a little bit of like you're kind of being an asshole, but I didn't feel guilty about it. Like I didn't feel at all guilty.
So did you cry about it or did you laugh?
No, that was my laugh. That was my laugh.
Were you like afterwards you got in the car and all of a sudden the
No.
Catholic guilt hit?
My laugh was that like, as much as I'm such a rule follower, there are times in my
What
life
Joy did.
where Rebecca's making the tiny hand flip the bird
Flip
at me.
off everybody else at Costco.
Flip everyone else off. But like there's times in my life where I will just be like, I don't care. I'm just gonna like work the system, like play the system, I guess. But that's probably the most criminal behavioral you'll get out of me. My cry was I watched this documentary. I believe it was from the BBC. Okay, so it's called Evelyn. It's a family who lost their son to suicide, and they all take this like journey and document it, where they go on this like hike and just kind of film their process of grief. And it was so beautifully done. Highly recommend everyone watch it, because it was just like one of those things where you just cry watching the family like process and remember him. And he did have some mental health issues that kind of really influenced the reason why he took his own life. So that was a cry. But I also was talking to one of my best friends who's a caregiver right now. She just has been struggling and feeling overwhelmed she's caring for her elderly parent, where we were talking the other day, and she was like, I just like really need to do some self-care. And she just started bawling, because it was like the weight of like, and Chelsea, you probably heavily relate to this, where it's like you're giving so much because you want to take care, and that you just you're so exhausted, but there is no other choice than to caregive. Like you wouldn't trade it for the world. Yeah. And like 5 million things can be true. So we were crying about that together. And then I booked a flight to go see her, because I was like, I'm going to come out and see you. And we're just going to like, help take care of you.
That's going to be so good for her, Joy. I'm so glad that you're doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it was to a point where she is in a position, luckily, where she has her parent like living with her. He has like his own, almost like a suite off to the side, so they have like some distance, so to speak. But she's caring for her daughter. She has a husband. Like they have all these home life responsibilities that like life goes on type of thing, but also caring for an elderly parent who's having some like more recent health issues that are coming up. And anyway, so we were just kind of processing that, where she's a tough cookie, but like really just let her guard down and started crying. Like she just like the mention of her where she's like, I need to just go get my nails done today, and then she just started crying, where she's like, I need something. Like and her mom passed away about 7 years ago. And I feel like that's another thing where she's like, I just want my mom to take care of me, And so all of those feelings mixed up. And so it just kind of made me, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to book a flight. I'll see you in a month. And I'll, something for us to like look forward to have that time together. So those were my cries.
It's so much. The caretaking is so much. And there isn't room. There's no way to shut it off, I suppose. Right. There's no space to shut it off, because you need to be so present and hyper aware, because somebody's health is
like that's the priority.
You're the watcher. You're the person who's looking for I can't tell you how many times, even just leaving the home for like an hour, and if I would call Steven, if he didn't answer, it would be like, oh my God, did something happen? Is he dead?
Yeah.
Like, is he? And nothing was going on. He was just like chemo sick and sleeping. But this hyper alert, it's like it never creates space for you to ever turn it off. And so to have somebody cry with you, to have somebody just sit there and witness as a caregiver, is the most validating thing I've ever experienced, because it was like, if I had a friend, like they would be like, okay, now I see it. Because most people are seeing the micro moments. That's what I used to call it. Like the moments where things looked good and where things were like, you have those little kind of reprieve moments. But for you to go out there and be in her space, I know what an impact that's going to have.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. And she's like family to me. So it's something that as a friend, you just feel so compelled to be like, okay, I know there's nothing else that you're going to change or can change, because again, this is non-negotiable. She's going to be caretaking for her father. Like that is how she's like, this is my job. And to your point, like I see how much she takes on, where she's being hypervigilant because she's so worried about him, even at the hospital. And I've heard you talk about this too, Chelsea, where like when you were advocating for Steve, like tell me this, and this, because whereas the healthcare system is great and wonderful, they don't know your person like you know your person. So she will be advocating for her dad to be like, he needs this, this, and this. Why are you doing this? Like asking questions. It is not just this like passive, it's far from passive when you're even at the hospital of like caregivers being there. So anyway, we could talk about that for a long time, but I just really sense and admire. And I know it's not a job that you're like, I want thanks for by any means. It's just, this is what I'm doing, hard stop, period, the end.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of takes us into our topic for today too, because in caregiving it's very painful, but there is these moments of gratitude, I think, in different ways that we are being allowed to walk beside this person at this point in time of what they're experiencing. And then I think the after fact is where we always think of what did I learn, or what are the lessons here? And I think even within pain, there are lessons, right? And I think that's kind of, when we're talking about, this is the month of November and everybody starts talking about what we're grateful and thankful for, we thought it would be a good time to kind of go back and look at what lessons maybe have we learned in life that we're maybe grateful for. So I'm curious, what came up for you all around that?
There's so many. I want to kind of bucket them maybe into like.
I'm gonna need to bucket. I'm gonna need to bucket them too. Okay.
There's
good,
so
Joy,
many.
go.
There's so many for the sake of
a
time. A bucket would be relationships, and I'm so grateful for the people that I've encountered. Let's talk romantic relationships. So that's something that I'm so grateful for throughout my life, where you really, through all the ups and downs, I learned so much about myself and my value and the things that I really wanted to prioritize in, a longer lasting relationship. So I feel like that's looking back, I'm so grateful for, is it the Ariana Grande song where it's like, thank you to my ex, or I don't know, there's like a million songs about it, but thank you next.
Yeah. Do you like my hair? Geez, thanks. Just bought it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, that's a great song. So, but it's that while it was hard, and there's so many times where I was heartbroken, each time that happened, I left relationships with better insight about myself, with more confidence. Because I was really on the spectrum of someone who was, I would say, insecure and looking for approval, and that never goes super well in relationships when someone kind of abuses that. And then, just to a point where I'm like, I am confident now and I can step into my own. And so that's something that I really look back and I'm grateful for.
Did you have one about relationships too?
I do. So this is a pretty vulnerable one. So my late husband had an affair. That gave me the fuckets. And when I say the fuckets, the people pleasing in me, I didn't care. I stopped. The I need to be a wife this way. I need to be a mother this way. I need to do this. I need to do that. All these unrealistic expectations I had for myself, I got the fuckets. And not in a self-destructive way, in a way that was radically preserving the parts of myself that I had cut off because I had put everything else in front of me. And so it was one of the most painful things I had ever gone through in my entire life. It was fucking brutal. It made my marriage so much more honest because neither of us were ever all the way in. Now, even though we loved each other and we were madly crazy about each other, we both had so many wounds that Steve was never my friend. I wouldn't even let him in to be a friend, right? He was my lover, who's the father of my children, all of these things. And my work was before him. My career was before him. Obviously kids are before. I don't care what anybody says. My kids are always going to be before anybody, so too bad. But I had cut off all these parts of myself, and I didn't even like myself anymore. I, at this time, had hired a therapist for me to just show up and complain to because I was at a good 2 years where I was pretty miserable with the way I was living my life. Probably the most successful I ever was. No, that's not true. But at that time, the most successful I'd ever been professionally. And so it was really this pull of completely losing myself. So when my marriage exploded, I, number one, said, I'm giving this a year for me to not hate you, for me to not have contempt for you, and for me to put back to work on myself. That was huge. And what I learned in that process was, ooh, he committed the act, but I had betrayed him 1,000 million ways. His just happened to be with another person.
Yeah.
And so, this is probably going to have a lot of judgment because infidelity does, and you can think whatever you want. It's not your life, it's mine. And I will say that was one of the best and worst things that ever happened to me. But I have such gratitude because it radically made me lean into who are you, Chelsea? And what is your role? And how are you abandoning yourself? How are you betraying yourself? How are you fucking over yourself? Because relationships just don't explode because everything's great.
Yeah. I like that because it was, instead of getting mad and angry about something, like focused outwardly, you actually held a mirror up to yourself.
Yeah, well, I did both. I mean,
Yeah.
I kicked out Steve's windshield out of his car when I found out. We found out in the car and then assaulted him like a gangbanger, which is very embarrassing. Yeah, I had like a full trauma response and like lost my mind. But I also was really able to, because of the work that we do, I was furious, I was angry, I was triggered, I was all those things. But I was like, what is your role? Because that's what you can control. You can't control what somebody does. You don't even have to be married to this person anymore. That is a choice. Nobody's we're in, year 2000, whatever. I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck financially. I'm not stuck emotionally. I'm not stuck. So it was an opportunity for me after I got through my violent anger, losing my mind. I did things like smashed my wedding ring, like hammered my wedding ring. I mean, I did some crazy ass shit. I had to be like, what is my role? And I had two really amazing therapists. I had my own individual therapist and, eventually, when I finally consented to couples therapy, because in the beginning I was like, there's no couple anymore. What we had is done. So you go do your thing if you want to. I'm doing my thing. But the couples therapist really was highly skilled and really dug deep. I was willing to look at the mirror. Most painful thing. That's probably one of the most painful, and then death, I would say. Those are kind of right there, but learning a lot. God, that was a lot of vulnerability for our audience.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well,
Thank you for sharing that,
Thanks for
Chelsea.
sharing, because I think people can really relate to this. They
Totally.
may not want to relate, but I think that it's the human experience, and we cannot keep it together all the time. It's just impossible. I think for me, as far as like this relationship bucket, I've had so many lessons, but this is kind of maybe along with what Joy was saying, like this people pleasing or wanting somebody to love you, right? So, being younger in different relationships, I feel like what I learned is after the fact is when people are like pushing you away, and like when they're like breaking up with you or they're giving you the cold, they're like totally disinterested, but you're like, oh, I'm going to make this person really love me and like me. And it's like, you know what? They're actually doing you a favor. They are protecting you from themselves. It didn't feel like that at the time, but I think the lesson after the fact that I'm grateful for is that, no, I'm really glad that they did push me away, even though it was super painful at the time. And that I feel like this other lesson I learned, which goes with like romantic relationships or even like work relationships, is like the more you give, the more people tend to take. And so that's where it's so important to have boundaries. That I feel like was a really big lesson to learn.
Rebecca, I love the boundary one.
Yeah.
I think boundaries, everyone can relate to that, especially in the workplace. As you were talking, I was thinking about this kind of like universal lesson that I think we all can relate to on some level. But Chelsea, you mentioned people pleasing, where especially women, I think, are more susceptible to doing the people pleasing thing. But I think along those same lines, one of the best lessons, or even just kind of like growing out of it / lesson, was just stopping the care around what people thought about me. That has been such a freeing, and I think that comes with time. I think that comes with experience. I think people truly might be just like kind of born with that, which is great, but I was not one of them. I constantly was needing approval, seeking approval. Once I kind of hit that point of just not caring what people thought about me, it was just such a relief. I think there's still kind of parts of me that will pop up, but I think that that one is huge. It relieves so much time in your brain. If it's like, oh, what if this person doesn't like me? Or what if this person, if I text something, I deal with this all the time in therapy too, where people are constantly trying to like, having trouble saying no because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. And it's like, it wastes so much of our time. It takes so much power away from us.
It really does. And I like what you're saying because that lesson of the boundaries is authentic. When we're able to authentic, we naturally rule in and rule out who is meant to be in our lives. And so initially it can feel like rejection or that somebody doesn't like you, but really it's just they're not your person. And we have to think about this, I think, with judgment. And I think about this because even my self-disclosure, I want to take it back. I don't want to say anything mean. I don't want the judgment. I don't want that vulnerability of sharing that marital part really gives me the ick.
Are you worried because of judgment from other people?
It's going to make me tear up. I'm worried because I'm protective of Steve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't think that you're defined by one moment in your life.
No.
And I think that people have such judgment. I know as a therapist, judgment is a mirror of yourself. If I've had as many people confess to me about their sexual fantasies and their little things that they've done, I mean, I've heard it all. From people who I love and trust, who are amazing, to the person sitting in front of me in a therapy session. But we have such judgment, and I don't want my late husband's, all the 18 years that we had of goodness, like this fucked up period in our marriage, to be like, oh, wow, what a fucking asshole. Because I wouldn't want someone to judge me for my worst thing that I did to another human. So I feel fiercely protective, but not of myself, I guess because he's not here. But this wasn't a secret. And when this happened, this wasn't a secret. By the way, Steve posted on his own Facebook, like he had fucked, like, because I was like, I will not feel the shame because secrets keep us sick. And when we cut off these big secrets, there's so much shame that I'm like, I fucking refuse to hold this shame. I'm just going to own that this is where we're at. But I feel protective. That's where I'm at.
I completely honor that, Chelsea. And I just want to say, even though I'm, one person, but as your friend, when you talk about it, I have such a respect for you two of just living your life and you making that what it needed to be for your relationship, and no one else gets to weigh in on it. And I understand the action of an affair globally. People will have judgments about it. I think because I'm a therapist, doesn't even enter my brain about judging people, because I'm like, hey, there's so much that happens in relationships. No one gets to weigh in on your relationship. When affairs happen, when this happens, when whatever happens, everyone loves to judge from their, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. We all are representative of the human race, of fucking up, of making quote unquote bad decisions, that no one is exempt. And so people that may listen to this or have that is just their own high horse. And again, I respect you and Steve so much because you did what you needed to do for your love, for your relationship. And that's what matters at the end of the day. I don't look at that and be like, wow, Steve fucked up. It's like, wow, this is a hard thing that you guys went through. We all have decisions and things that make us do certain things, and maybe we see it as a mistake, but at the same time, it's like, okay, this shit happened, and how are we going to work through it?
Yeah, it was a gift. It was a gift, and it was horrible. It was, both of those things were true. And, the other gratitude that came out of it was, when Steve and I split up, it wasn't because of that. That was long in the past. When we split up, it was basically he was going on tour and I was getting anxiety, and this was a life lesson for me. I was like, I can't abandon myself with these old feelings are resurfacing. And I know how that was. It was basically, we had lived together during COVID. It was the most time we'd ever spent. I was so happy. And then when he went back on the road, my nervous system freaked out. And it was hard because I said, I love you so much. And this isn't about anything from the past. This is about me. I can't be anxious anymore. So that was a huge lesson in choosing myself, which people thought that was crazy too, right? Like, everything's great. What? Now, years later? Like you want to connect the two. And I'm like, this isn't about that, right? And so then when he got sick, that part was very pure because we had been split up. So it was like we really got to have, like, that's why I call it our third marriage. We really got to go in as two people who were much more healed and healthy, who had differentiated and split up and come back together. Those, I would say, are probably my biggest relationship fouls, fuck ups. Gratitude would be those kind of that kind of with going through all of that.
We have such pressure. As you were talking about that, I can't help but think about just societal pressure of what successful relationships look like. The longevity of, we made it to 50 years or we made it to 60 years and we've been happily married for, I will say every single day I've said since I've been married, like marriage is a trip, marriage is a journey. I know I've said on the podcast before that, like, I was super afraid of getting married and, like, didn't understand how to be in a couple and didn't like the whole death to us part till death do we part verbiage, because I was like, that feels really overwhelming to me. And it's just, there's so much pressure on relationships, and yet we all have our own version of working through shit. And I think that's the beautiful message here, Chelsea, of like, relationships bring out so much shit that we have to deal with. And yet there's this pressure of outside everything looking shiny. But, you know, in the spirit of gratitude is, can we all look at this and be grateful for this reflection? That's like the hardest work we've ever done. I think truly marriage is one of the hardest like lessons and assignments I've been given on earth, because it just is hard. I constantly have to look at myself, which, you know, it's really sad to see that I'm not perfect, but, you know.
Hate to tell you. You know, I think it's important, people, like we're talking about relationships and gratitude, that we recognize that we are like all, our relationships are like in an orbit. If you think about space, like we're all orbiting, which is like this kind of circling, right? And so sometimes you're maybe out past Pluto and it's freezing cold. And then sometimes you're like coming back in towards the sun. It's getting warmer and warmer. And then you're getting so close to the sun, it's like burning your face off. And it's like, that's what really, it's all about ebbs and flows of relationships. Like nobody's relationship, when people are like, yeah, we've been happily married for 50 years, Joy, like you were saying, bullshit. That's what I say. Nobody's like happy all the time. It's impossible, because that's not how we're wired as humans. So that's a bullshit thing when people say that. But shit happens. We're all assholes. Every single human's an asshole at some point. We're really great humans at other points. Like it's like the back of your hand and the front of your hand. Both things are part of you at the same time. So,
oh, I like that, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Like
so
that.
it's like this podcast is about the human experience. Like we're 3 therapists, right? We've been doing this for years. We grew up in a generation of Gen X when like people pleasing, not standing up for ourselves, no boundaries, blah, 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 all the stuff. Mm-hmm. And now we've kind of made it to midlife, I guess people would say, of where like we are really kind of diving into what we've learned. And I think that's what's really great about this discussion today.
Yeah. I mean, it really is like looking at the hard things, which is hard when you're in it, to then be like, all right, then I grew from this, and we can be grateful for that.
Yeah. Now we have reached the side where we can be grateful.
Well, I was going to say, in my therapy email, I think my signature is the Freud quote. One day in retrospect, the years of, I think it's messiness, will be the most beautiful. That has been a testimony of my life. My biggest explosions, my worst pain has been the most healing. My worst pain, the worst fucking things that have ever happened to me, and there's been, got a whole bunch, we've got some buckets of this, those have been my greatest gifts. When I look at, you know, people with wounds, it's like, yeah, marry somebody. There, you want to open up all your shit?
Right.
Get married or have a kid.
Have kids,
Yeah, I always say that. When you're coming into there, it's not because your marriage was happy for 30 fucking years, because that just means you're miserable on the inside and you're actually not dealing with anything, and who knows what's going on. Because to your point, Rebecca, we're not meant to stay in a state of bliss at all times. We're human beings, and you're gonna go through some shit. So when you can look at like those really hard years, oh yeah, one day in retrospect, the years of suffering will be the most beautiful. That's what it is. The years of suffering. Those have truly been my biggest gifts, have been in the suffering and finding the beauty in it so that I don't cause myself to suffer more, and finding my role in it so that I can take responsibility for what is my side, that boundary. That's how I want to summarize my terrible things that have happened in my life.
That's so beautiful, Chelsea. And I know that, the feelings and emotions around being protective of these stories is so, I want to honor that, because I also know how much it helps people in normalizing. This is the whole reason why we do this podcast, is normalizing these experiences, because this is the human experience. You're showing up, you're being your full self, our messy selves. But I just wanted to add on what you just said around the parts where you were like, the hardest parts were the most beautiful. Exactly 1 year ago is when we moved into this house. And I look back on the time that I lived with it's been 1 year exactly. Today. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
a lifetime.
I feel like it was 3 years ago.
Me too.
It's wild. But like, I think back and I'm like, I feel so warm and fuzzy and grateful. I get like butterflies in my stomach right now thinking about like how much fun we had at my parents' house for that month. Even though we were homeless, even though we were like freaking out what the fuck we were going to do with our house. Like we had no house, like all of that. We had so much fun with my parents, like, just little things. We're like, oh, we all watch football together on Sundays, and then we go to get this one pizza place, and my dad would like cook us eggs and steak every morning, or like, Scott
Eggs
dropping
and steak every morning.
Oh
Holy
yeah, my dad
cow.
loves little eggs and steak.
He's a hearty guy.
He really is. And remember that funny story when like Scott was like trying to, return
dog.
a random dog, and someone showed up the doorstep with a
with
gun.
the
like
gun?
we look back, and it was so sweet and innocent and pure, and like we made it work. And I was like putting my outfit, like recording podcasts in that bedroom. Like everything looking back was so special. And then that one time we had to record like 5 times because I forgot to push record.
Oh
and
my
like
God.
the video wasn't working. Like I look back, I have nothing but fond, beautiful memories from that time. And I'm like, wow, what a great lesson. Like I said a few weeks ago, like, look at what's ahead. That should make us all feel so excited for what's ahead, because we're going to go through some shit, but we're actually going to be like, wow, the human experience is pretty rad.
I want to wrap us up with a teenage insight. One of Miles's buddies was talking to me about growing up poor and how hard it was. And like, I'm not going to go into all the details just to protect whatever, but going into like these like details of the struggle, and now has money, and was like, I really miss those simple days where it was so fun when we were just figuring it out. Like, how are we going to do this?
Yes.
How are we going to do that? And I looked at him and I'm like, wow. You have some depth, kid, because
That's amazing.
It's just beautiful. And nobody who has a good story hasn't gone through some shit.
That's
no
true.
Interesting person hasn't gone through. That's why it's like, stop fucking judging. Stop putting people in a box and looking at them and assuming something. We are layers upon layers upon layers. And guess what? There's a lot of wounds. There's a lot of pain. And if we can find the gratitude, oh my gosh, the depth, the beauty, the growth. Ta-da!
Yeah. I love it. I love this
Here we are,
discussion.
guys.
Here we
I love what you
are.
said. I love what you said. That's so cool about like, it made me think about any time right now. I'm kind of making a promise to myself of like in this gratitude of, whenever I'm like wanting for something more or whatever, it's like, be careful, because maybe you get all these things and then you look back and you're like, gosh, I miss those days. I miss the days of having to be scrappy here, there, or whatever. And it's such a good reminder of we are meant and wired, to quote Brene Brown, wired for struggle and wired to be like, we got to figure this out. So
Or
love that
Glennon
reminder.
Doyle, we're meant to do hard things.
We are meant to do hard,
Yeah,
hard
look at these
things.
little smarties.
And be grateful for it afterwards.
Next week, we are going to talk about Chelsea's favorite tips and tricks for increasing gratitude in your life, increasing
Dun, dun,
gratitude
dun, dun.
practices. So we'll share that next week. You can find us on all the socials, especially TikTok, where we are just building that brand. You can email us laughcryclub@gmail.com, all the socials at laughcryclub, and share with a friend. And thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate the time that you spend with us. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
That's life, baby.